Well, hey there, everyone. Got a song in my head tonight. I just sang it to my husband. Not that he enjoyed that because my serenading chops just aren't there. Make sure that I got everything straight. Sure do. Okay. So it's Tuesday and it's 7 p.m. Central. And that means that we chat about our weekly topic. But before that, I have to tell everybody, for those of you that know me, this isn't going to come as a surprise as I'm retiring tomorrow. I'm super, super excited. Not retiring from nutrition, but retiring from my day job, which is being in the military. And so I have literally waited 20 years for this. So I'm pretty stoked. Okay, so if this is your very first time joining me, my name is Sunny Brigham, and I am a board-certified clinical and integrative nutritionist. And I have a master's of science in clinical nutrition. So let me silence this guy because I'm working on closing my rings. Obviously the nutrition aspect is, food, what you're putting in your mouth, how the food that you eat affects your body. And then the integrative aspect, which we're really going to dive into tonight, is really about the mind-body connection. Don't roll your eyes just yet. It's more about, your sleep habits and how they affect your ability to maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle, your physical activity level, your movement, how you're handling stress, those sorts of things. So it's not always, touchy-feely stuff, but that is kind of part of what the integrative aspect is. So tonight we are talking sleep and how your sleep habits have an impact on your dietary intake. And so a lot of people come to see me, and I linked the blog. If you haven't read it yet, I would highly recommend that you read it. It is a guest blog this week, so I did not actually write it. It comes from Tuck. Tuck is a sleep institute, and that's all they do is eat, breathe, and sleep, like literally. And so I'm kind of talking about their topic tonight, but this isn't a new topic for you guys because I have talked about this quite a bit in the past. It's also something that I talk with all of my clients about. And so tonight we're talking all about sleep. So read the blog. It has the author's bio at the bottom. And I had written a previous one about sleep as well, so you can see that at the top. I linked that. But if you have any questions about anything we talk about, go ahead and post them in the comments. I will check back and answer those questions for you. And if you are watching this after the fact, you can go ahead and also post those comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So let's get into it. So the title of this blog is How Lack of Sleep Can Wreck Your Diet. 98% of my clients that come to see me, their primary goal is weight loss. Now, how we get there is different for everybody. It's a different road path because there are systems in the body that may not be functioning appropriately to allow for weight loss. When things start to go awry, or we don't have everything aligned where it should be, it's not like it is for a lot of people that are younger, in their 20s, and some people even struggle then to lose weight. It's not always calories in versus calories out. Yes, at the end of the day, calories matter, but the content of those calories and how the body functions overall is going to make or break your ability to lose weight. And so this applies to most of the population out there that is trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle or trying to lose weight. And usually those are kind of coupled together. Most of my clients that want to lose weight also cite, they're tired all the time or they're tired of feeling crummy. And so those are sorts of things that we explore in my office. And so tonight we're going to talk about sleep and how that can impact the food that you choose to put in your mouth. And I say choose because while you may not feel that you have control over it, at the end of it, you have control over the sleep aspect of it. And so working on your sleep can change the choices that you make as far as what you're putting in your mouth. So let's start with the first topic. Says sleep, hunger, and satiety. And I've talked about this before, so this is really going into two primary hormones. This is ghrelin and leptin. So ghrelin, it's easy to remember because I think of it as gremlin, don't feed it after midnight. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and it's what cues that you are hungry. It tells your body that you're hungry. It tells your mind that you're hungry. and it gives you all the cues, the rumbling tummy, everything that you need to eat. On the opposite side is leptin. So leptin is your satiety hormone. That's the one that tells you, okay, we're full, we've had enough calories, or we've had enough nutrients, and so you can go ahead and stop eating now. A lot of times, those hormones are completely out of whack for some people. Some people don't have the leptin switch, so they feel like they're constantly hungry all the time, or they feel like they're never full, they're never satiated. They'll eat something and that won't fulfill them, and so they'll eat something else and that won't fulfill them, and then they'll eat another thing and that won't fulfill them. And so a lot of times we say, well, you just don't have the willpower, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it's actual hormonal imbalance. It's a leptin and a ghrelin imbalance. And so what Tuck did was they kind of broke it down, and they said that ghrelin, so remember that's your hunger hormone, is released in higher amounts than usual when you're tired. So we need between 7 to 9 hours of night, 7 to 9 hours of night, 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And I know some of you are out there like, oh, that's never going to happen for me. I promise you it will. There's things that you have to prioritize. I know that it's difficult, when you've got up in the morning, you've worked all day and you've ran the kids around, and then you come home and they're all in bed, and you finally have, an hour to 2 hours to watch your shows or read a book or just relax with your significant other or your spouse. I know that you guys will stay up a little bit later. You'll take the 9 to 11 to kind of hang out with your significant other or your spouse. You'll take that time to relax and unwind from the day, and then maybe by 11 you'll venture into the bed. You guys turn the TV on in there, watch the 11 o'clock news. By 11:30, 12 o'clock, you're falling asleep, and then the alarm goes off at 5:30, and here you've had 5-ish hours of sleep that night. So it really just comes down to priorities. And I know it sucks, but at some point you have to prioritize your health over a longer period of television time. So maybe not doing 2 hours, maybe just doing 30 minutes or an hour, or spending time with your significant other laying in bed reading a book. You guys can read a couple of chapters and talk about it and then go to sleep. Something like that, as long as you're kind of working towards increasing that time that you're actually sleeping. But we need between 7 and 9 hours. 8's about the average. Some people are a little further on the spectrum. I'm about an 8.5 hour gal. That's what I need to really feel energized and awake. And so when you are tired, the ghrelin, your hunger hormone, gets released more so than when you are fully rested. And then your satiety hormone, leptin, gets released in a much smaller amount. So ghrelin makes you hungry. When you're tired, it's released much more. So when you're tired, you feel like you're hungry more often than you are. And so you eat more often. You take in more sugar, more carbs, more fats, more proteins. You're taking more calories overall. And then your satiety hormone, leptin, isn't released as much as it is if you're rested. So the foods that you're taking in are probably not making you feel as full as you should be, or making you feel as satiated, Sometimes, you can walk into the kitchen, and this happens to everybody. It also happens to me. You can walk into the kitchen and you open the fridge and it's filled with food, but you're just like, nothing looks good to me. But then you open like your snack drawer and there's something in there that really appeals to you, and you pull out the Snickers or the Milky Way or something like that. And that makes you feel satiated because that's what you wanted at that time. And so when we're tired, we tend to reach more towards the snacky foods than we do, the good quality, healthy foods. Sleep deprivation affects an endocannabinoid system. And this was a full study that was done. And so your endocannabinoid system is heavily involved in appetite and energy. And it's also involved in the high that you get from exercise. So after exercise, if you're after exercise, most people tend to feel really good and really uplifted, and they feel like they have a little more energy than before. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get there, maybe 20, 30 minutes of recovery, but then you feel great after the exercise. So the endocannabinoid system is, excuse me. You cannot have that right now, mister. It's playing with a squeaky ball right now. It's very distracting. So the endocannabinoid system is involved in that high that you get after your exercise. And so it is also involved in your appetite and energy as well. And so a study that was published in Sleep, so it's a journal, looked at the connection between the endocannabinoid system and sleep. So the participants, the participants in the study, they had leptin, ghrelin, and their endocannabinoid levels were measured several times throughout the day. And they put them in different groups. So at one point, that group only got 4.5 hours of sleep. And then a couple days later, they went and did it again, and they got 8.5 hours of sleep. And so they measured the levels of their hormones throughout those 2 specific days. On the days that they'd only gotten 4.5 hours of sleep, they chose snack foods with 50% more calories and twice the fats than when they were well rested. And so what they found was that when you are tired, your reward center experiences a much bigger high. So we've talked about sugar in the past and how sugar acts on dopamine receptors in the brain. So it gives us that high, that rush, that feel good. And so you get a much bigger high, a much bigger rush, and a much bigger feel good when you are tired and you reach for those foods. Not saying that you can't ever have those foods, but those should be used as treats, not daily staples. Let's see. They think that some of these changes to eating habits happen because sleep deprivation can influence your taste. I thought that was pretty interesting. Sorry, that was really loud. So a study published in Appetite found that the changes in taste associated with sleep deprivation influenced your food cravings. So another reason that you might be reaching for those treats more often when you're tired. Okay, so what can you do? It's easy to say get more sleep. That's actually a really hard thing to do. And honestly, it's probably one of the biggest things that my clients struggle with. And it was something that I struggled with for a very long time because I wasn't willing to prioritize it yet. So it's really, you have to get to that point in your life where you feel like you're ready to prioritize sleep. It is probably one of the last things that most of my clients are willing to go through, which is take care of their sleep hygiene habits. Most people will work on the dietary changes. They'll increase their physical activity. They'll work on activities to reduce stress. But most of them are not willing to touch sleep just yet. It's something that they want to do later on, or they want to see where they can go without changing their sleep habits just yet. Because we work so hard through the day, we want that extra hour, those extra 2 hours in the evening to kind of unwind and calm down. Totally get it. So here's some things that you can do. Things that you can start. There's a couple of tips in here. I always recommend picking one. So pick one, work on it, and once you get that as a routine, pick another piece, work on that. Once that becomes another routine, and then so on and so forth, until you get all of these implemented to where you have really good sleep habits and you're sleeping really good throughout the night. So the first one would be keeping a consistent sleep-wake schedule. So consistency can make all the difference in your sleep success. I don't know what my husband's doing. He's like, I don't know, recording me while you guys are recording. Oh, it's weird. Anyway, sorry, he sidetracked me for a moment. So keeping a consistent sleep-wake schedule. So making sure that you're going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. I always say loosen the reins a little bit on the weekend, but I wouldn't loosen them too much. So if you get up at 6 a.m., maybe sleep until 7:30, something like that. I certainly wouldn't sleep in until 10, 11, or 12. So trying to maintain as much of a consistent sleep-wake schedule as you can. Establishing a bedtime routine. So this is actually a really easy one to implement. I usually tell people, pick the time that you want to get in bed, whether that's 11, 10:30, midnight, it doesn't matter, pick that time. And then back up 30 minutes from that and start your bedtime routine. Make it a consistent routine that you do most nights of the week, whether that's washing your face, shower, doing the dishes, putting things away around the house, turning the television off and reading a book, kind of relaxing and calming the mind and body down. Whatever that looks like to you, Make a consistent routine and stick with it and do the same things over every night. Because what happens is when the body notices that we're developing this routine, it starts to recognize that we're preparing it for sleep. And so you'll start to release melatonin, which is one of your sleep hormones. And so once that starts to release, it takes about 30 minutes after it being released to really start to feel tired and want to go to sleep. So if you're getting into this bedtime routine, you're training your body, you're letting it know, okay, this is what we're doing. Next thing we're going to do is get in bed. You start to get in the process so that once you hit that bed, you're more apt to sleep instead of toss and turn for 30, 40 minutes. Lighting your room right. So the darker, the better. If you have a phone, most of us use our phones now for alarm clocks. The easiest thing to do, and this is what I do, is set it upside down. So I put it on silent and I put it face down on my nightstand so that if I get an email alert through the night, if I get a news alert, any type of alert, it doesn't matter, the light doesn't shine and wake me up, because some people will notice that it does that, or they'll wake up for no reason and then look at their phone and see that they have a message without putting two and two together, that light might have triggered their waking up. Drawing the curtains, using blackout shades if you can. We actually have a spot in ours where the light comes through in the morning. I've been thinking about buying one of those masks. I used to have to use them when I lived in England because we don't have AC in the houses over there, so you had to sleep with the curtains open. But during the summer, the sun rises at 3 a.m. So it's like you're up at 3 a.m. or you learn how to sleep with a mask on, which I did. So I think I might end up getting one again because I'm not willing to buy new curtains. But making sure that you have as dark a room as possible, no lights, no television, turning the phones off, no screens. If you wear a watch to bed, make sure that you put it on movie theater mode so that it doesn't light up. If you need to, you can put a motion sensor light night in the room so that if you have to get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, you walk past it, it'll shine, and then you can use the potty, go back to bed. But minimizing as much light in the room as possible. The darker it is, the more restful sleep you're going to have. Regularly timed and spaced meals will do wonders for your sleep-wake cycle. So this is going to go into having a consistent sleep time and wake time, having consistent meals throughout the day, not only for your metabolism, but it also helps with sleep. So we want to have a consistent time that we eat breakfast and lunch and dinner and snacks throughout the day, because we're training our metabolism to burn it all off. The more we put in there, the more it's going to burn off. And so doing that same thing will help us have regularly timed sleep. Meal timing impacts the release of your sleep hormones. So eating your meals roughly at the same time every day will help establish a regular cycle that your body can follow. As far as dinner goes, light and early meals reduce the chance of sleep delaying in indigestion. So heartburn, acid reflux, anything like that. Your biggest meal of the day, and I know we kind of get trained in this thought that dinner is our biggest meal of the day, and most people follow that. Your biggest meal of the day should be breakfast, and then the rest of the meals throughout the day should be about maybe 3/4, half the size of breakfast. But what we do is we tend to have a very light breakfast, whether it's just toast or a banana, or some people skip breakfast altogether, or just have a cup of coffee with creamer and sugar and call that breakfast. And then they'll have a lunch, a fairly large lunch, and then they will have a fairly large dinner, and maybe they'll have some snacks in between there. Breakfast should be your biggest meal, and then you kind of taper down from there. That way you don't have a whole bunch of food sitting in your belly as you're trying to go to sleep. So make sure that you're consuming your last meal a couple hours before you go to bed. You never want to lay down right after a meal anyway, because it could cause some acid reflux or some heartburn. So space your bedtime and your last meal about 2 hours, and make sure that it's lighter. Remember, breakfast should be your biggest meal of the day. And then avoiding screens. That's always a big one, and that's tough for a lot of people, including myself. It's very easy to shut the lights off, get in bed, pull up your phone and flick through Facebook one last time, or play a game, or read the news. But the screens actually reduce the reduce the timed release of the melatonin. So all the blue lights that we have, the television, the laptops, tablets, computers, all of that, as long as we're staring at them, we're not going to release as much melatonin. That's why if you're really into like a show or you're researching something on the computer, you're playing a game, and all of a sudden you look and it's like 2 hours past your bedtime. We want to shut those off. That's kind of part of the bedtime routine, is shutting all those off 30 minutes before you go into bed so that we're not staring at them. Just don't turn them back on once you get in the bedroom, which is something I still struggle with, I'll be honest with you. So that's really it. So yes, you can do everything right during your waking hours. And if you're still struggling to lose sleep or to lose weight, I would definitely start to look at your sleep habits, because that's going to impair your ability to lose weight. Let's see. Jeff said hello. Hey, Jeff. And Jamie said, I need a routine desperately. So many people need routines. They just don't recognize it. It's easy if you don't have a normal job, not normal job. That's the wrong word. A normal timed job, meaning like an 8 to 5. You know, there's many people that work 2 to 10s, or we have shift workers. We have doctors and nurses that work shifts. We have people in the military that work different shifts. So you can definitely have different hours, and that's going to affect your ability to make a routine. But definitely starting small with a routine, setting it how you want it, starting it just a couple days a week. Start slow, you know, pick Tuesday and Thursday to enact this routine, and then add in Wednesday, and then add in Monday, and then add in Friday until it's an every day of the week sort of thing. So definitely make a routine. Okay, I don't see any other questions, but like I said, if you're watching this after the fact, you can feel free to post your question below, and I will be more than happy to answer it. If you haven't read the blog, it is here in the notes, and I highly encourage you to go read it. And that is it. I hope you guys have a really good Tuesday night, and I will see you next week. What are we watching next week? We're not watching anything. What are we talking about next week? Ooh, omega-3s. So that's what we're talking about next week, all about omega-3s, and if they're confusing, not confusing, how to pick the right ones, all of that. And that's it. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.